Today we are starting the last lesson for Chapter 9. We are going to be solving the radical equations. We're going to be solving them sometimes with radicals, sometimes with the fraction exponents. And then you're going to have to do a check. Even a head check is okay, but we're looking for extraneous solutions. Do you remember that from last semester? What's an extraneous solution? Some of you are shaking your head. So you got an x equals, but what's up with the x equals? It doesn't check, right? So you get your answer, you did all the math, you did your algebra, you got x equals, but when you plug it back into the original equation, it didn't check. So you want to make sure you do checks on these so you don't miss something that is not a correct answer, okay? We are working towards a test on Friday. Today's assignment, as you can see up there, is 3 to 21 odd, 20 and 22, so that includes a few word problems. The word problems, I think, are pretty easy in the respect that they give you an equation. They give you numbers to plug in. Plug it in. Solve for the variable. That's it. Okay? Tomorrow, expect your weekly homework question. Time permitting, I might give you an extra credit pop question tomorrow as well. I'm picking up this assignment on Thursday. I did that because I didn't know if I would get to all the word problems today. First period I got to all of them, but in second period I didn't. So this assignment is due Thursday. If you finish it tonight and you turn it in tomorrow, that's fine, but it's due Thursday, okay? Questions from the study guide tomorrow and Thursday, so that hopefully you'll do amazing on the test on Friday. Here we go. My beginning problems are mental math. Mental math means you should be able to do it in your head. Who knows one? 16, awesome. Square both sides, you got your answer. Yes? Okay, this should feel like review. Square root of 2x equals 4. What would you do first? Square both sides, okay. So in my head I have 2x equals 16. So what is x? 8, awesome. I'm going to skip. Tell me about number 4, please. Still square both sides. The whole thing, and that's around the 9, pretend. What would you do next? It's a nice linear equation. Add 1, minus 1. Perfect. Okay. So all these so far, your radical was isolated. It was by itself. As we get deeper into the problems, that's what you have to do for yourself. You're going to have the kind of problems where we're going to have square root problems, cube root problems, square problems, and cube problems. Those are the 4 types. When you're doing your square root and cube root, you're trying to isolate that value on one side, and then we'll do everything else to solve for the unknown, okay? So hopefully you'll take good notes so you'll be amazing at this. This is in your textbook, page 722, and it's example of solving for an x when you start off with a square and solving for x when you start off with a square root. I wanted you to see that the first 2 steps, you're doing the same kind of thing. So step 1, you would add 5 to both sides. Step 2, do you notice that they divided by the 2? Do you see how the process is the same to start? So something equals 9. Now, the next step is what's different. To get rid of a square, the inverse is square root. Don't forget your plus minus. To get rid of a square root, you would square both sides, and that's how they got the 81. Okay? So just kind of a reminder to you of process. Now, on your page 723, take a look, please. 723, this is good. I want to show you the difference between Teresa, that did it correctly but did a ton of steps, and then down below, the person that also did it correct and in like a fraction of the amount of steps. So, what Teresa did was she didn't isolate her variable. Do you see how she squared both sides right away? Can you see that? It's okay to do that, but look at this. When she squared both sides and did FOIL, this is not pretty, okay? But her friend Martise decided to isolate the variable first. So watch the step. Minus 7 from 25, you get 18. Divide 18 by 3, you get 6. How do you get rid of a square root? You square it, and you're done. The same problem, different approaches. You can do either. I'm going to be doing the quicker route. Question for me. And that's in your book, so you can kind of look it over. Can somebody see what Donnell did incorrectly? She squared both sides, which is doable. Well, she squared the whole thing first, which wouldn't be the route I would take. But once she did square it like that other person up on the top, she didn't actually, this right here says, write it twice. All she did was, oh, she totally forgot about squaring this. She squared her radical. She didn't square the 7. She was like, oh, I'm done. I squared one of my square roots, and I'm done. Okay, so just be cautious. That would be a don't do what Donnell did. Okay, this is from the skills practice number 10, just to give you a medium type problem before I do some more from the textbook. Do you see the square root by itself on one side? Yes, so this is good. So to get rid of a square root, what do you have to do? Square both sides. This is where I need you to take good notes so you don't make a mess. So I'm going to square both sides. On the right side, the square root and the square cancel. I know you're good at that. This left side, humor me and do what it says. Doesn't it say write it twice? So let's write it twice. Now, x minus 4, aren't we going to FOIL the quantities? So that would give you x squared, outer, inner, would give us a minus 8x, and last would be a positive 16, right? 4 times 4 equals, bring down the 2x minus 9. Chapter 2, quadratics. What do you want your second degree equation to be set equal to? Awesome. So we're going to minus the 2x and add a 9. And your new sentence says x squared minus 10x plus 25. Second degree equation, how can you solve it? You know a couple ways. So factor it, x minus 5, x minus 5. And for those of you that are still weak at factoring, you could also do your quad formula. I think that takes longer, but it would work. Set both of the quantities equal to 0, and what do you get? X equals 5. And then we're going to plug it in. I'm going to show you my head check. Head check would be, take this 5, and let's put it in for both of the x's. So in the original, 5 minus 4 would be 1. Over here, 2 times 5 is 10. 10 minus 9 is 1. Square root of 1 is 1, so it checked. Okay. I don't need to see it written out. You can write it out if you want, but I wanted you to see how you could just process it in your head and make sure that it's true. Question for me. Lovely. Okay, let's do more of these. We're going to start with B. You haven't done one of these yet. How do you think I would get rid of a cubed root? Cube it, exactly, the inverse. So we're going to cube both sides. So I have 2x minus 3 equals, help me, 8. Awesome. Next thought. What would you do next? This is a nice linear sentence. You know how to do this from algebra. Add 3. And you can write the answer as 11 over 2, 5.5, 5.5. Any of those ways would be fine. And it checks because I've done it before. Question for me. Okay. Back, middle table. Tell me what you would do first. Divide by 4. Okay. And then before I say I'm done, what should I do? Check it. Good. 10 minus 6 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2. 2 times 4 makes 8. Yay, I'm good. Question? Anybody? Okay, let's skip T. Oops. Let's go to E. No, let's go to F. That's what I want to do. F is a good one. I'm going to show you a shortcut, so stay focused with me. That means keep your eyes open. Step 1. You know this. Step 1. Minus 9. Agreed so far? Now, I read the problem as I go. I don't just keep working and working. What I see right there is square root of something equals a negative number. Do you agree with what I wrote? Is that possible? Can a square root equal a negative in the set of reals? So if I keep working this through, which you could, it's going to end up with an extraneous solution. It's not going to check. So this is going to be a no solution. So if you notice it early, good. Cube root, so it's a different story because you can have a negative inside the radical. Yeah, that I would keep going. It's the square root, the fourth root, the sixth root where we can't have negatives inside. Question. Okay. G's a little bit meatier because you have more than one x. So what I want you to do is isolate your radical. Okay, get the square root of x by itself. You could minus the x to one side. I'm going to do a little different dance here because I like my x's positive. So I'm going to move this guy over here and the 2 here. But that's just the way I was trained way back when I had algebra 2. So that was my step 1. I rearranged and I isolated the radical. Now, how do you get rid of a square root? You know this. Square it. Good. This is a package deal, not a piece by piece. So this is saying x minus 2, x minus 2. Still with me? What would you do with x minus 2, x minus 2? FOIL it, right? So x squared minus 4x plus 4. Second degree equation needs to be set equal to 0, right? So you know all these steps. And then I like to factor. You could also do quadratic formula. Set each of these equal to 0. And I got x is 4. I'll move out of your way in a sec. I'm going to show you the check in one sec, too. That's why I rewrote it. Question on my solving. One of these doesn't check. Do you know which one? Does the 4, which one does not check, the 4 or the 1? 1, good. Because that would give you 1 minus square root of 1 is 1. 1 minus 1 is not 2, is it? So that didn't work. If you plug in the 4, it does check. Question for me. Anybody? Okay, let's do H. And I think we're onto the word problems. I need a voice on this one. Who's going to talk it? Who's going to tell me what to do first? Brianna, tell me what you would do first. Okay, I'm going to square it, and I'm going to square both sides. Okay, so this side is an x plus 1, and this I'm going to write twice. Abby, tell me next what you would do. FOIL, good. So it's a nice second degree equation, and it needs to be set equal to what? 0. Very good. And what I'm showing you is I'm doing that math. You don't have to write that, but that's so that you have it in your notes if you want it. Do we know how to factor this kind of problem? Yeah. It was the first thing you learned how to factor in algebra. Before you broke it apart, what do they have? A common multiple? So you pulled out your greatest common multiple. What is it? X? It was like your backwards distributive. And we're going to set both of our quantities equal to 0. And solve for x, and then we're going to do a check. Again, one of these checks, one of these does not. Which one does not check? Awesome. 0 take away 1 is -1. Can -1 equal the square root of something? No. 3 did work. 3 minus 1 is 2. 3 and 1 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2. So that check. Question for me so far? Awesome. Okay, on to the word problems. Definitely want calculator for this stuff because most of these are like those continuous kind of things. The story problems, they're going to give you an equation. This is what's funky about this problem. That whole huge first paragraph is a lovely story, but you don't even need it. Nothing is in that paragraph that I really need other than it's a nice little story. Okay? Do you see an equation? Is there an equation staring at you, like a formula? Yes. So it gives me V equals 1.837 b to the 3/2 models the relationship between wind speed in miles per hour V, and Buford numbers B. Determine the number for wind speed of 20 miles per hour. So we've got this 20 miles per hour, and what do you think you're plugging that in for, V or B? All you have to do is look at this paragraph. Where are you putting the 20? I'm going to plug it in for the V, and that way I can find B. Since it says determine B, don't you know? So that's kind of telling me B is going to still be in my problem. So let's do the math. So this says 20 equals 1.837 b to the 3/2 power. Question. Okay, next step, and this is where I would keep it running in my calculator if I was doing it. I'm trying to get to the B. What would you do? Good. So in my calculator, I would have to do 20 divided by 1.837 and keep that there. And I think I got about 10.88, something like that. Is that what you got? Okay. Equals B to the 3/2 power. And of course, in the calculator, just keep it going. It'll be more precise. Now, you are trying to get to the B. That means you need to get rid of the power 3/2. You can do it in one step or two steps. I like to do it in one step. What is the reciprocal power of 3/2? 2/3. Awesome. So would you agree by canceling, the 3 cancels with the 3, the 2 cancels with 2. So after I do this math in my calculator, it's going to give me what B equals. You can, if you have a caret key, you can do this 2/3 power all at one time, but what you must do is put it in parentheses. Okay? That way it knows that you're raising it to the 2/3 power. If you don't do a parentheses, then it thinks you're raising it to the second power and then taking the answer and dividing it by 3. It's going to do, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Okay? So you can do this in your calculator, and it should give you approximately 4.9 for 4.91. If you had to do it step by step, for whatever reason, you could cube root it first, that's the 3 down below, and then square it. Or you could square it and then cube root it. Question. Okay, let's do more. Read number 2. I can't read it. Okay, so it's a good story, and they're giving you some numbers to plug in, right? Tell me what to put where. I kind of underlined for you. How would you start the sentence in math terms? What would you write? 2.1. Good. 2.1 equals square root of 90 kilos H. Yeah. So yeah, it's a story problem, but it's really just plug in, solve. What would you do next? Good. I would multiply. I would keep this going in the calculator. What would you do next? And last. Last problem, but I need you to talk it. Who's going to be the voice? Because I can't be. Kevin, you're brave. Okay. Do you have a number to plug in? How much? So we're going to replace in the problem the 4. Can you solve for L? All the other stuff on the top we didn't need. So tell me what you would do next. Give me the step. Next. And it's a calculator problem, and if they don't tell you otherwise, I would use my pie cake. And I got approximately 12.97. So I put little notes there that I could ask you something like that on the test. But I could change what I asked for. So tomorrow I'm going to do another problem. Hopefully my voice is better. And some review problems. Be ready for your weekly homework question your extra credit pop question. This is not due till Thursday, but if you finish it and want to just like have it in, be out of the way, that's fine also. Okay? Good job, guys.